All right, welcome to our 2021 Earth Week program. I'm Pat Miller, a member of Middletown for Clean Energy and the Middletown Green Team, as well as being a trained climate reality leader and member of Sierra Club Ready for 100% Clean Energy. Our 5-day series, Green Your Life, shows some of the most important and accessible steps we can take toward cutting carbon emissions. Our mission is to leave a livable world for our children and grandchildren. To do this, our goal is net zero carbon emissions by 2050 and halfway there by 2030. For this to happen, each of us individually, as well as every level of government, needs to begin today to speed up the transition. The transition to a greener life needn't be onerous. Generally, it will involve switching up vehicles, appliances, and heating to new, cleaner electric versions when they need to be replaced. We can also expect market forces and government incentives to make the new replacements cheaper as time goes on. The transition itself will boost the economy and create jobs. Each daily presentation this week in the Green Your Life series highlights one or several steps that we as individuals are taking that are making a difference now. If we as individuals each start taking these small steps while at the same time putting pressure on our government officials, town, state, and US, to provide these same opportunities to everyone, we'll reach our goal. We'll have Q&A at the end, so if you have a question, please put it in the chat. I'm going to share one slide, which is New Jersey's overall emissions profile. Okay. New Jersey's 2019 Energy Master Plan, as well as the recently updated Global Warming Response Act and the governor's executive order, all put New Jersey on a path to zero net carbon emissions by 2050 and close to halfway there by 2035. And now it looks like President Biden's new infrastructure and clean energy legislation will put more teeth and more incentives toward these goals. So focus in this talk is how do we get there? The answer is by electrifying our world and switching to renewable. The greatest emissions by far are from transportation. And you can see from this chart in the green, the big green slice at the top, 46% of emissions are from transportation. And that is the target of the EV legislation and incentives that the state has already passed. The next largest emission sectors we need to reduce are the residential, which is this orange slice at the bottom, and the commercial, the light green, space heating, for a total of 22%, and which we seek to address with a combination of heat pumps and energy efficiency measures. And that will be the focus of today's program. We also address reducing the third largest source of carbon emissions, the electricity generation, that's the turquoise slice, which is 21%. And we want to do this via solar, wind, or other renewable energy source. So all of this will happen over a number of years. We can easily switch now to renewable electricity, either by installing rooftop solar or switching to a clean third-party electricity supplier. We can also reduce our energy needs now by having a home energy assessment done by New Jersey Clean Energy and getting our homes sealed and better insulated. We can switch to an EV anytime we need to buy a new car and run it on our renewable electricity. Heat pumps are more likely to migrate in more slowly as our air conditioners or furnaces, either one, needs to be replaced, which will likely be within the next couple of decades. I'm going to stop sharing this now. And our first speaker, unlike what the person you see on the screen, at least I see, but our first speaker will be Phyllis Garr. And we have a video that she recorded earlier. I am going to turn it on. I'm going to share my screen, find this video. Turn it on. And thank you, Phyllis. That was fascinating. Whoops. Our next speaker is Phyllis, and Phyllis is also a member of the Monmouth Hub and of the Marlboro Green Team. And Phyllis has been doing this for a very long time too, but she has several features in her home, including a heat pump and solar panels. So Phyllis, why don't you share the screen, and your mute is already off, and take it away.
I'd love to. I just wanted to mention today that we had someone like you come in and do an audit, and we did a lot of insulating and a lot of little things that they suggested afterwards. It was very helpful. Actually, what I'm going to speak about is back in January of 2006, we had a smoke puff. I don't know if you know what a smoke puff is, but I woke up at 4 a.m. on a Sunday morning in the middle of January, and outside our bedroom door, there was black smoke. I woke up my husband, we threw clothes on, called 911, and got out of there. They didn't let us back in there for 4 days, and then there was a lot of damage. The oil furnace, it did something, it just didn't work right. And because of that, the smoke backed up in the house. So I started my research, and heat pumps at that time were just about non-existent in New Jersey. This was our first heat pump. It's outside, it's on the slab of the air conditioner, which had been extended a little. And this is where the air comes in. And next, I'd like to show you the inside part. This is the inside part of your unit. And this is what blows the hot air, or in summer, the cool air throughout the house. Now, we had something in the oil burner that took care of hot water. So we needed a new hot water something. We needed some kind of a heater. And we bought a high efficiency water heater. At that time, they didn't have any connected to heat pumps. But this has really been pretty amazing. It keeps the heat in, the cold out. We have never, in the 14 years I've had it, had any problems with it. Wasn't really planned that we were going to get solar at this time, but we had been waiting 1.5 years for subsidy to come through from New Jersey. And it just happened to come through when we were putting in the heat pump. We've just shown the two panels, the two sides of the house that have the panels. These are the original ones. In 2011, I got another system that's on the third side of my roof. Next, we're going to show you the inverters, because the inverters, they're the three that say Aura, and they take the energy from the sun and they make it so that you can use it in your house. Today, I have 5 of them in my house because I have the 2 systems. There were many things that I noticed when I got both the heat pump and the solar panels. The first thing I noticed was I only had to dust the house every other week instead of every week. It was so clean. Everything was quiet, both the heat pump and the solar. You didn't hear them. I had no regular maintenance with either one. And if you wanted to turn the heat up with the heat pump, it heated very quickly. And with air conditioning, it cooled very quickly. My daughter also happened to get a heat pump a few years after we did. And she got it in the middle of the summer. And she called me up about a month after she got it. And she said, Mom, I can't believe it. My electric bill went down $100. And that's it. All of these together are very economical. Another thing that we have are the solar tunnels. For dark rooms, this doesn't produce energy, but it saves energy. We had a whole entrance hallway that was very dark and a bathroom that had no windows in it. Every time you went in, you had to flip on the light. The little dome in this picture here is where the light comes into the solar tunnel. All the light comes in there and it goes through a tube. And that tube is like a very shiny, bright metal. And it reflects the light all the way down to this it looks like a fixture in your room. This is in our entrance hallway. And we have the exact same thing in our bathroom. It is very bright. And except at night, when it snows or when it rains, you don't need a light in these areas. Now I'd like to show you my electric car. This is an all-electric car. And that little red thing that you see in back on the side, that's where you charge the car. And I have a charger in my garage. And I charge my car all the time there. The only time I don't charge it there. And of course, that uses electricity that comes from the sun. And the only time I don't use that is when we go on a long trip. But one thing I know a lot of people are worried about with EVs is how are you going to, when you're on a trip, how do you find a place to charge your car? Well, my car is a computer. And if you want to find a place, you just put your finger on a dot and on the left-hand side of your screen, and it has a computer screen rather than a dashboard. It comes up and it tells you all the different electric charging stations, where they are. They're always near food, so you can go in and buy a meal while the car is charging. And they're all superchargers, so you can get a half a charge in about 20 minutes. All of my appliances are the Energy Star appliances, and they're all electric. My water heater, my car, and this past year, for all of the electricity that was used, it cost me for the whole year from the end of October to the end of this October, $922.08. My solar arrays, and this includes both the first system and the second system, together cost me $54,000. I've received so far $54,887 from the sale of SRACs. And if there's anybody that would like to know more about this, I would be happy to talk to them. Thank you.
Okay, that was very good. Unfortunately, Phyllis is getting ready to go into the hospital for major surgery, and she wasn't able to be here today. But we do have another speaker, and we'll have Q&A at the end. Again, put any questions that you have in the chat. I haven't looked at them yet, but we will later. And I think we're ready for our next speaker, who is Hap Haven. And I have his bio right here. Hap is a national leader in the field of home performance. Hap has extensive for-profit and nonprofit work experience with a focus on energy training and education. In the early 80s, he pioneered the home systems approach toward energy education for the Energy House, his first of 3 green model homes. He's a Building Performance Institute, that's BPI Proctor, and carries multiple certifications. He was inducted into the BPI Hall of Fame in 2011. He's personally trained over 1,000 contractors for their BPI certifications. He's currently employed by Clear Result as a senior residential account manager for New Jersey's Clean Energy Program. On a personal note, he's an award-winning gardener and actively involved in his local community. Hap, I think you're able to unmute yourself and share the screen and take the floor. And if I have to unmute you.
There we go.
Oh, okay, you're good.
That's
All
great.
right, very good.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you very much for that. And I remember meeting Phyllis last fall when she gave that presentation, and I was just so thrilled to meet her. She was an early adopter. She's one of the crazy people like me who just said, you know, we should be doing this and just move forward with it all on her own. And I'm thrilled that you were able to play that again. And please wish her my best, because she's a fantastic lady.
Yeah, she is.
There's a graph that you showed when you first started your presentation that I'm real excited to to talk about today. My topic is getting to zero with heat pumps, but there was that big gray portion on the top of the graph that's transportation. And I just have to say that I was at a national conference last week and listened to a representative from the Ford Motor Company. And we all know that Ford's moving forward with all electric vehicles. So is General Motors, so is Toyota, so is Hyundai. They're all moving forward because they're right on the brink of understanding how to monetize the solid state battery. And that's going to be the game changer for transportation. So yeah, that big slice of the pie, we're going to take big chunks out of it in the next couple of years. I'm really excited about that. But let's get on to heat pumps. I'm going to just jump right right into it here. If I can just get this thing to, there we go. Heat pumps are a game changer for us here in New Jersey. Heat pumps have the most efficient dryers, the most efficient water heaters, the most efficient heaters and air conditioners, and have been used conservatively for the last 10 years. They've actually more like 20 years old. And I'm not talking about heat pumps the way, like my first heat pump, 30 years ago in this house that I live in, and probably Phyllis's, it looks like as well, were not efficient for New Jersey when it got cold. The new ones, cold climate heat pumps we're going to talk about today, are just tremendous in terms of keeping their efficiencies well below zero. And for everyone to know that our design temperatures in New Jersey are 15, 16, 17, 18 degrees. So these heat pumps can outperform everything on the market. Heat pumps are by far the best technologies to move us forward. And Pat, you already mentioned this. Okay, the New Jersey Energy Master Plan signed in 2019 created a 2050 goal of 100% clean energy. And we have to recognize that there's certain pathways to achieve that. And heat pumps are one of the best ones. People say to me all the time, well, we'll never get there. It's like, that's impossible to get there. 2050, that's right around the corner. Okay. But this is what I would point out to you is every 3 years, we have a new energy code in place. And so every 3 years, the residential energy code ratchets up the efficiency that we have to do with building new homes and doing retrofits. So every year with program incentives, code upgrades, and renewables, we're improving our efficiency. And the great thing about that is as we improve our efficiency, the pollution goes down. And it's not just the CO2, which is what we're worried about for the global climate crisis. It's all pollution goes down. So this is a surefire way of getting to our 2050 goal. I mentioned that I was at a conference last week. This was one of the slides that came straight from the Department of Energy last week. Basically, they said to get to their 2035 goals, we need to look at 4 pillars. That's listed on the right: energy efficiency, demand flexibility, that's changing loads on the grid, as well as installing renewables, beneficial electrification, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today with the heat pumps, okay, and embodied carbon, which means taking carbon out of the air. The technology, they've been talking about technology the entire 40 years I've been in the industry, okay, but it's finally beginning to move forward a little bit, and that's really great. So instead of business as usual, we can go down, we can pull all those numbers down and get to our potential, but it only happens with action from you and from me. Okay, the governments and utilities can create incentives, which we have had for the last 13 years in New Jersey, as well as with the federal government. Okay, but you have to choose to do it. You have to choose to, like Phyllis, to install the heat pump, install the solar system, buy the Tesla, or there's going to be so many electric cars on the market now in the next few years. It's crazy. So it's like we have to actually do it. Okay, when you participate in the program, you're helping us all move forward to the energy efficient, clean, and sustainable future. We have rebates for the smallest house all the way up to the biggest commercial and industrial building in the state. So you have to take advantage of them. If you do participate in our program in the state, okay, we process about 12,000 applications every month. Okay, you have to understand that New Jersey, little old New Jersey, okay, is a big player in the country. When we process those 12,000 applications, we give out, that's the rebate money back to people, about $12 million a month. And that has an effect, okay? That has an accumulative effect of taking the equivalent of 8,000 cars off the highway every month. Okay, so the rebates, the incentives, they can work. And we're making a difference here in New Jersey, all the time. So here's the quick, the 10-second overview of the residential side of the program. We have rebates for appliances, for major appliances like your heating and air conditioning, for Energy Star homes, or home performance with Energy Star, which looks at the house first, then the mechanicals. And then, of course, if you're buying a new home, okay, we can build homes that are zero energy, that we can build. This has been going on for quite a while, folks. We can build zero energy homes right now, right today. And over in Europe, they have a great program for basically their version of home performance with Energy Star, where they measure homes with lasers, and they create an entire new facade for the house and a new roof for the house in factories. And they come in and bolt it. They do a gut rehab basically from the outside in, okay, and get the house to zero energy, even though it's a older house. All right, now here's the thing I have to tell you about today. Okay, the program, which has been up and running for 13 years now, is changing. As of July 1, a good chunk of the program is going to be shifted over to the utilities. Okay, the utilities will be getting the existing building programs and the product side, which is all the rebates for both major and minor appliances. But the interesting thing, and this is especially important for the contractors who usually float the money between the homeowner and the rebate, okay, that process will go faster. Okay, and we expect that most utilities will have dedicated multifamily programs and more financing options. So it's transitioning, okay, and the utilities will be taking some of it, but the state will keep some of the programs. They'll keep the new construction, large energy users, and all these other things. And if you want to get the latest and the greatest on the transition, log onto the website, njcleanenergy.com. Okay, that's how you keep up. Basically, I can give you this amount of information right now, and every week we get just a little bit more like that. And so pay attention to the website. Here's a picture of the landing page on our website, and it now has a big banner going across the top saying, hey, soon this transition is going to take place. Learn more, click here. And then the state uploads information as it's available. All right, let's get on to the meat and potatoes for today. How do we get to this great new future, this 2050 goal of ours? It takes four things: high performance homes, high performance appliances, alternative energy sources. And this is a new one that I'm adding in, even though I've been talking about it forever, but testing. Because you can install a high performance boiler or a high performance heat pump, okay? But how do you know it's high performance? Half these things don't operate at their operating capacity, at the efficiencies they should be, unless they're installed properly. That makes sense, right? And we unfortunately have an industry, both a building industry and an HVAC industry, okay, countrywide, not just here in New Jersey, that are still living like they're in the 1950s, okay? But we can test everything and understand what's good and bad. We're still building houses like this one. This is $1 million house in Philadelphia, and look at how much energy it's losing. Okay, we can take that existing home, retrofit it with home performance, techniques, insulation, air sealing, and then right size the equipment. Okay, or we could just build it right to begin with. This is an affordable house that was just built in Delaware. Okay, and it's a zero energy ready home. Means that all they have to do is put PV panels on the roof to match the load, and it'll be zero energy. Phyllis said she had a $900 bill for the entire year, which is phenomenal. Okay, but this house is going to have zero. Okay, we can do that right now. And this is an affordable house. I mean, it's not like that $1 million house you see above it with all the dormers and additions and 2-car garages. It's a simple house, but we can do that, and we can create zero energy homes. Home performance is the starting point for the heat pump technology, because it's worthless to be taking a high performance piece of equipment and putting it into a house that doesn't work. Okay, home performance increases your comfort, increases your indoor air quality. Okay, it creates a more durable home, gives you some peace of mind. Okay, as well as creating energy savings. Now, I don't have to point to the infrared picture on the right here. I think you get it. Okay, this house, okay, is wasting way too much energy, and we don't want to put that brand new cold climate heat pump into this house, okay, until we've air sealed and insulated. We have to get the usage down. We have to make it livable and accessible for the heat pump technology. So that's the first and second step. And here in New Jersey, these are the rebates that we've had available for home performance. Up to $4,000, 50% of the cost, up to $10,000, 0% financing for 7 years, or up to $15,000 for 0.99% financing. But again, if you lock your program or your house into the process before July 1, you're good to go. After that, you'll have to be talking to the utilities. All right. Number 2 here is the appliances. Okay, you need to be buying the most energy efficient appliances that you possibly can. You can get them online. Okay, EnergyStar.gov, product finder. Okay, this is a key thing. Now, I'll give you an example. When I was buying a new dishwasher a number of years ago, it was about 7 years ago now, I said, because I'm one of the early adopters, I said, okay, I want the best dishwasher I possibly can. And at the time, it was made by ASCO. ASCO, I believe, is a Swedish company. Phenomenal, 92% efficient dishwasher, but it costs $1,600. Well, I couldn't afford a $1,600 the dishwasher at the time. So I just went to Energy Star, went down the list until I found the next one on the list. It was made by Bosch, and it was 86% efficient, and it was only $800. So what I always tell people is buy the most energy efficient product you can afford. That's the, the key thing there. Now, let's get real here. These are our incentives, okay? The state incentives for different appliances, small appliances, but look at this one pops out. We're going to give you $300 for what kind of dryer am I going to give you $300 for? That's the heat pump dryer. It uses 50% less electricity, okay, than the normal dryer. So again, it's like the state's paying for that incremental cost, additional cost for a new technology. And let's be really clear, it's not new, right? They've been using it for 10, 20 years in Europe and in China. But think about it, okay, when you start buying appliances, okay, and when you recycle your appliances, because you're all good people trying to do the right thing, let us pay you for your recycled refrigerator or smaller appliance. All right, now there's major appliances, right? Major appliances like heating, cooling, air conditioning. And you can see the rebates on the heating side from $250 up to $950. Okay, that's $750. That's a heat pump water heater. Okay, on the Cool Advantage, you see it goes up from $300 to $2,000. That $1,000 to $2,000 is heat pump, cold climate heat pumps. And we're going to talk about that right now. And of course, we have additional bonus rebates if you qualify, depending upon the situation. But you can talk to contractors about that, or you can read up on it on the website. All right, let's talk about the heat pump water heater. Now, remember, a heat pump is nothing more. Well, think about it like this: a heat pump itself, okay, is like your refrigerator. It takes heat from one place and puts it in another place. Okay, except a heat pump for heating purposes takes the heat out of the house in the summer, puts the heat back in. It's just moving heat from one place to the other. The heat pump water heater takes heat from your basement, okay, out of the air, and it puts it into the tank. And then the exhaust air that comes out of it is cooler and drier. So in the summertime, it makes a lot of sense to take that heat pump and just let it blow air into the basement, because you're going to get dehumidified air in the basement. In the wintertime, it may not make so much sense. So that 8-inch round exhaust coming out of it can be ducted to the outside. And then you just put in a damper, summer, winter. It's like pretty simple, straightforward. And we're going to give you a $750 rebate for trying this out. This is still new. This is still cutting edge in New Jersey. More of these things in cold climate heat pump in Vermont than we do here in New Jersey. Okay, and that's because the heating contractors and the plumbers haven't gotten with the program. I give presentations every week to contractors, and they're all looking at this stuff going, they don't have the experience yet, but they're getting it slowly. And with the rebates from the state, it's making a difference. Now, when it comes to a heat pump, and people make this assumption all the time, we're talking about ductless in most cases, okay, but not the regular mini splits, not a regular heat pump. Okay, a ductless mini split is nothing more than an outdoor unit, that's the compressor, and an indoor head, and a line set between the two. Okay, and I can take the heat from one place, dump it outside for the summer, and take it from the outside and dump it inside. But the cold climate heat pump is functional well below zero. And I'm putting these metrics here just so that you can see them. This is what the contractor needs to do in terms of the actual metrics. And we don't have time to go into what they all mean. Okay, but let's point out the red one, the COP, a coefficient of performance. And your eyes don't have to glaze over. This is really simple. 1.75 means 175% efficiency, with 100% being if it was an electric strip heat. I'm getting, 1 unit of energy in terms of electricity, okay, and 1 unit of heat out. When you have typical heat pumps, old-fashioned heat pumps, that number decreases. Once you hit like 40 degrees, that number starts decreasing. This particular one, and in our program, we require, okay, to get the rebate, to have 175% efficiency at 5 degrees. You guys never see 5 degrees here in New Jersey. Oh, maybe if you're in Summit or, way up there at the top end of the state. But most of us only ever see dipping into the teens for a couple hours, right? So this is going to give us 1.75 or 175% efficiency at 5 degrees, which means at 10 degrees, it's more, at 15 degrees more, at 20 degrees more. Most of these units create 300% efficiency at 30, 40 degrees. And we give $1,000. Okay. And the other one is the multiple zone. Okay. Where instead of having one compressor outside and one head on the inside, it's one compressor on the outside and multiple heads on the inside. These are more expensive. So we give the contractor, to you, okay, $2,000. And when I say the contractor or you, because you get to choose how you want the money to be routed, to you or to the contractor. All right. So now on to number 3. Remember, we had 4 different things we wanted to look at to get to our 2050 goal. Obviously, adding on some sort of alternative energy is key. And we have over 100,000 PV installs in this state already. And it's just going to keep going, more and more, installs like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean PV. It could be solar thermal. Okay, you can do, this is an evacuated tube system for heating hot water. Okay, and this is my house on the bottom there. Okay, when I installed that, which was like 20 years ago or something, we didn't have heat pump water heaters. If I was to do this all over again, okay, I'd buy and install the heat pump water heater because it'd be less money than this. And if anything ever went wrong with it, it's right there in front of you. Right. So solar thermal is still happening. Solar electric is still happening. But there's something that we sort of forgotten about. Okay. And that is just good solar design. This is my hallway in my passive solar house. And the infrared picture on the left is showing you on a January day how deep the sun penetrates into the house and heats up the concrete floor, heats up the stone and the brick. Okay. And then re-radiates that heat at nighttime. And you can manage this. All you have to do is have a large enough overhang on the outside those patio doors, outside those French doors. I have an 18-inch overhang, okay, that allows this in the summertime. When the sun is high in the sky, okay, it shades the hallway. I don't get the solar gain. And all of you on the line, if you ever went to the Jersey Shore when you were a kid, you remember this. Air conditioning was never at the Jersey Shore. It was always front porches and awnings. Everyone knew how to turn their back on the summer sun, okay, to stay cool and allow the breezes to come and go. Okay, you can still do that, right? But we've sort of ignored this, this portion of the equation. All right, here's just one little extra tidbit I want to throw out because, the technologies are coming on strong. It's really an exciting time to be alive because finally things are happening. Okay, hydrogen fuel cells. Okay, they can be either blue, green, or gray. Gray, okay, is when you take basically, when we create electricity from natural gas by burning it. Okay, but you can take natural gas and split it apart to get the hydrogen to run a fuel cell to get electricity. And that's what they're doing for big trucks right now in Los Angeles. They have hydrogen fueling stations, and it's really exciting. The technology is moving. And then the real green hydrogen, okay, doesn't come from natural gas at all. It just comes from splitting water into its component parts. And we get hydrogen as part of that, and then we can use that to generate electricity. But that's not what we came here for today. I'm just like showing you something that's on the horizon. Last is testing, because we have the tools to tell you what the problems are in your house. Pat mentioned an energy audit. So an energy auditor normally comes with these 2 tools. Okay, a blower door to tell you how leaky the house is, and then to pinpoint where the leaks are, and an infrared camera to let you see behind the walls, right? Because the middle picture is what you see with your eyes. The picture on the right is what the infrared camera sees. And with the blower door running, I can see where the air leaks are. Like, look above this window right here. I need to air seal right here because this is cold air coming in the house, okay, through the jamb, through the framing. Up here, this is cold air coming across the attic where the insulation is not working properly. And we can fix that too, right? So testing everything. And I'll just, as an aside, let me just say, we all working toward an electric economy. which includes heat pumps in a big way. But there is a cautionary note, okay, because with the current state, okay, of the technology, we are using the gases that go, that get compressed here and then expanded there, or expanded here and compressed there, to move the heat back and forth. Okay, and they have a huge global climate potential, and so we can't have leaks in these systems. In order to guarantee that, your mechanic has to test. They have to guarantee that you have no leaks in the system. So I think I'm almost right on my mark there, Pat. Okay, this is, I just want to emphasize that in order to get to this 2050 goal that we're all looking forward to getting, okay, with electrification, we first deal with the shell, whether it's retrofitting with home performance with Energy Star, or a brand new Energy Star, zero energy ready home, or net positive home. The next thing is upgrading our regular appliances as best we can, upgrading the major appliances as best we can, and then adding on some sort of alternative, generation to the house, as we can. So New Jersey's clean energy program, both now and as it evolves back to the utilities in some cases, needs you, okay, needs you and me and everybody to participate and take advantage, of the rebates. So thank you so much, Pat, for letting me come and talk to your folks today.
Well, thank you. And if you would turn off your share, then I have a few questions in the chat to ask
Okay.
you.
So let's push the little arrow here. And
It should be
okay.
one at the top, I think.
Yeah.
Stop sharing.
Yeah, it was hidden there for a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have that problem. I would have turned it off myself, except I couldn't figure out how to. Okay, the first one is probably an easy one for you. Could you define embodied carbon?
Right. Well, we can look at it in a couple different ways. Okay. Every time you, mine something, manufacture something, you're using energy to create that item, right? And to transport that item and to then use it. Okay. So you're embedding carbon, into that. So it's important to understand, there's two different things here I'm going to talk about. The first thing is that reusing materials is really important for keeping that embedded carbon, okay, where it should be. And this is why we don't want to use fossil fuels, okay, because if we use the fossil fuel, which has its embedded carbon, okay, if we then burn that fossil fuel, we're releasing the carbon in the form of carbon dioxide. So, that's both from materials and from fuels. Okay, we can either keep it or release it. Okay, and then the other side is taking carbon out of the atmosphere. Okay, that's like entrainment. We're taking carbon actively out of the atmosphere. And the way that we do that is, I said earlier on, that by every little step we take in the clean energy program, every month we're taking about the equivalent of about 8,000 cars off the highway. So that's taking that carbon out of the atmosphere. Every time you plant trees, okay, that's taking carbon out of the atmosphere. So there's a couple different ways of coming at that.
Okay, thank you. The next one I think is for Phyllis, but Ennis is asking, which brand of heat pump, water heater, and solar tunnel did Phyllis install?
Yeah.
I can give you Phyllis's email. She said she'd be happy to answer questions, but I'm not sure I emphasized enough that she started this work and did the bulk of it in 2006. That was 15 years ago. And I think you might want to shop on the open market today to see what.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Pat, is that Phyllis was an early adopter and she doesn't have a cold climate heat pump in her house. Okay. She could take that $900 bill and almost zero it out if she would to install a a cold climate heat pump, a much more energy efficient one. You see, cold climate heat pumps uses direct drive. They use DC current. And so they take the power from the house and change it over from AC to DC and then run all the compressors, all the motors using direct current, which is much more efficient. So Phyllis could really, jumpstart her house even more by using a cold climate heat pump. So I would start researching cold climate heat pump. And when it comes to a manufacturer, I can tell you who is the probably the preeminent manufacturer. Okay, and that's Mitsubishi. But Mitsubishi is also by far the highest price. Every major manufacturer, whether it's Daikin, Carrier, Rheem, Rudd, they all have cold climate heat pumps. But the thing is that you have to make sure that it's a cold climate heat pump. And I'll give you the website to go to identify that. It's called NEEP. Okay, so that the organization is called NEEP. That's the Northeastern Energy Efficiency Partnership. So just Google NEEP. Okay, and then I'm pretty sure it's neep.org, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. But if you want to identify that your product, or a product you're interested is cold climate certified, they're the folks, NEEP, they're the folks that are sort of like the arbiter. They're the ones that test the equipment. So actually, they don't test the equipment. The manufacturers test it and give them their specifications.
Thank you. Another question from Ennis, and that looks like a response from Johan. So I'll give both. Would a heat pump work for a home with radiators? And Johan says you probably need ductless mini split heat pump. So,
okay. All right. So Johan's, correct. I mean, you have different kinds of heat pumps, some that are centralized and ducted, okay, and then ductless. And they also have ducted ones that are like the ductless ones, but they're very short duct runs because it's a low friction. It's just, you can't blow it through the whole house. So you can get heat pumps that do the whole house. That'd be a high static heat pump, central heat pump, okay, that are still very energy efficient. But the thing that you have to think about when you're putting in the radiator is, okay, the heat pump normally has a head on the wall, but you can also buy them to be floor mounted. So you could potentially take out the radiators and put the heat pump where the radiator was, okay, and it'll just be a box on the floor. So there's and ducted that ductless. The line set goes to that head, but I'm using the head loosely here. It's actually a floor mounted mounted unit. I'd be really cautious though if you're in a house with radiators. Okay, it's probably, I mean, if it's an old cast iron radiator, okay, you're probably in a house that is old, maybe balloon framed, which means that the walls are open from the basement to the attic. And I'm going to caution everyone before you run out and buy heat pumps, okay, get your house air sealed first and insulated and tested with the blower door and the infrared camera. Make sure you get all that together, okay, so that you have the best shell that you possibly can. Okay, you do that first because when the contractor, the HVAC contractor, okay, looks at the size of your heating and air conditioning, they have to do something called a manual J, a manual S. Okay, that manual J stands for the sizing, the heat loss. Okay, and S stands for the selection of the equipment. There's still lots and lots of mechanical contractors in the state of New Jersey that don't do heat loss or heat gain calculations. And their answer is, the township doesn't ask for it. And they're right, the township doesn't ask for it, but it's state code. So if you're talking to a contractor and you say that you want a manual J and S, and they go, oh, that's not necessary, find another mechanical contractor because they're lying to you. Okay, in order to size the unit properly, you need to size it to the heat loss and the heat gain of the house.
Okay, thanks. Here's a question from Leslie. My gas dryer is on the second floor. What are my alternatives to replace the dryer?
Well, I mean, I guess you can replace it with another gas dryer, okay, and just get the most efficient one you possibly can. Or you can do an electric dryer, okay, but if you're going to be doing the electric route, you want to be thinking about the heat pump dryers. And here's the thing about the heat pump dryers. When they dry, they're condensing the moisture out of the air that's going across their heat exchangers. What that means is that you're left with water. Just like a high efficiency heater, okay, whether it's in air conditioning mode or whether it's in heating mode, you're going to have condensate. That condensate, normally there's a little reservoir with a little pump, and it pumps it into a drain somewhere. So, but if you have a dryer on the second floor, I'm assuming you probably have the washer right next to it, and maybe a utility sink, or maybe you don't, but there's going to be a drain there. So you can deal with that and pump it, get the little reservoir that comes with it and pump it into the drain.
Okay, thanks. Here's a comment and a question, I guess. At 5 degrees, I'm not worried about efficiency, but whether it will fail. We did get a few times below 5 degrees in the past 40 years.
Yeah. I can imagine that happens. So, the way the climate information for what they call design temperature is figured is they look at a 30-year running average, okay, hour by hour. And what they do is then they take the 1% and throw it out, and they size the unit for 99%, which means that there'll be 1% of the time, every so often, that the unit, meaning your heater or your air conditioner, can't keep up, okay, with the heat gain or the heat loss. It'll be, in other words, it'll be running constantly in order to match that heat gain and heat loss. But with just a little bit of thinking through, you can make a big difference. Okay, like let's say you have a great room facing west. Well, you get blasted by the sun in the summertime in the great room, but I've been in plenty of houses where no one has any shading, no trees, no curtains, no nothing, and all they're trying to do is let the mechanical equipment, make up for that. Well, that's what the mini splits are great for the air conditioning mini splits, where you just put a single head into that room and deal with that. But the thing that I find all the time, and this happened at a national webinar about a month ago, where there was a guy in Massachusetts who created a zero carbon, zero energy home. But he said that his cold climate heat pump wasn't doing its job when it got down to like 20 degrees. Well, in the middle of the presentation, we come to find out that he didn't do a blower door in the house. He didn't do an infrared scan. He didn't even do a manual J, the heat load calculation. So how can you expect the equipment is going to do what it's supposed to do unless you don't size it properly? So.
Okay, here's one that's a little off the subject, but hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs, are being phased out based on the AIM Act, which was approved in December 2020. Refrigerants need to be lower polluting than HFCs. That's I don't know if that's a comment or not.
Well, no, it's a really good comment, and it's true. Okay, we've been regulating their refrigerants for a very long time. Matter of fact, I got in my wallet, I have my EPA 608 certification, which allows me to handle refrigerants. You're not supposed to be handling these refrigerants unless you're licensed to do it. Even though they're getting better, they haven't gotten there yet. And that's why I said earlier on that you have to make sure that your equipment doesn't have leaks. Right. So if you're buying a heat pump, doesn't make a difference what kind of heat pump, okay, or what kind of air conditioner. You have to make sure that there's no refrigerant leaks. And at the Building Performance Association conference last week, I asked that question to a bunch of different manufacturers, and they're basically all working on it. And that is an internal monitor that monitors refrigerants. Okay, so if there is a leak, okay, they'll be able to go either straight to your smartphone, okay, or to the heating contractor who has a service contract with you, and it comes up with, flashing red lights on their monitor saying, hey, we've got some problem with this house, and they, come over and see it. So we're moving toward non-polluting, okay, refrigerants, okay, and they exist. Okay, they already exist in the commercial world, okay, but they work at extremely high pressures, and the residential market is not ready for that yet, but we're moving that direction. That's a really good comment.
Great, thank you. Here's a good one. For a house heated by gas forced hot air, how does a heat pump electricity cost compare to the furnace's gas cost?
Well, if you're getting cold climate heat pumps where you have the efficiency down to, most of them are rated to give you 100% efficiency down to about -5, -10, degrees, something like that. Okay, because of the inverter technology, okay, they're going to be more cost effective than the gas. Okay, now here's the interesting thing. With fracking here in Pennsylvania, that's where I am. Okay, we've effectively lowered the price of gas. The lowest in New Jersey, I think, is 85 cents a therm or 100 cubic feet. And so it's on par, okay, at that rate. Okay, the more the gas goes up, $1.10, now the heat pump, the cold climate heat pump is winning out. Okay, but the thing about the gas is I'm not going to be able to get rid of the pollution from the gas, right? I mean, I'm burning gas. I'm going to have, pollution associated with that. Okay, when I'm doing the cold climate heat pump, as long as I don't have the refrigerant leaks. Okay, and that's an important thing we need to pay attention to, because I don't want to, take one devil away and give us a different devil, right? And so, gas is here to stay for a very long time. It's not going away, right? But we can move away from combustion in general. So if you have a house that has already a high efficiency, gas, heater, you can do what they call, a split system where you have the heat pump down to some temperature like 40, okay, and then the gas goes from there. But that doesn't get us where we want to go. That still keeps the gas, still keeps the combustion, right? In terms of your question about cost, okay, it's on a parity the way gas is priced right now. If gas goes up in price, then the heat pump, the cold climate heat pumps, work out. But I'm going to very quickly jump in and say, fracking is not an alternative. Okay, fracking gives us a certain time frame, okay, to work with cheap gas, okay, but it doesn't do anything for me because it's polluting all of Pennsylvania. If you've been to Texas, if you've been to Colorado, where they've been fracking for a long time, we have land subsidence, we have earthquakes, okay, and we have tons and tons of pollution. So just because it's up in the Poconos somewhere, isn't a get out of jail free card, right? We're still paying for it in terms of environmental pollution, okay, and not to mention, okay, all of the gases that are being burned off, or escaping from the wells. So
we have just a very short time frame for one more question, and then I do want to say something about the talk that we have tomorrow, because I think it's really of interest. But the question from two different people is how to find a contractor.
Yes, well, so there's the easiest way currently, okay, is to go on our website, NJ-CleanEnergy.com. Click on the residential tab that's on the top. It's the second tab from the left. Click on residential. The next page that comes up will have in the bottom right-hand corner a square box that says find a trade ally. When you click on that, you'll get basically I'm not going to use this for promotional reasons, and you click on the button, and then you get a list of contractors, and they're organized by topic. So you have electricians and plumbers and home performance contractors. And I would start with home performance contractors. Okay, and just click on that, and then you can query, put in your zip code, and then you'll be given a list. Now we only have 100 contractors in the whole state. right? So you'll be getting a list of 10 or 12 or something like that that's near you. And then you just have to do your due diligence at that point, right? What you need to do is look at their ratings, you look at the Yelp ratings, look at the Google ratings. Oh, and also when you do that and search on the website, you'll also see how many jobs that they've installed. Because some of these contractors have been with us from the very beginning and they've installed hundreds and hundreds of jobs. Other people are new, but I wouldn't let that be your final decision. Okay. And it's obviously, price is a key thing, but I know when I talk to contractors, all the time, and I say, look, by being a home performance contractor, you're not Chuck with a truck. Okay. Because we have tons of Chucks. Okay. And we have lots of stands with vans. Okay. And they're unmarked, they're unlicensed, they're uninsured. They're picking up second-rate material, and they'll give you the best price possible. What you're doing is you're buying something that we would call a value-added product. Okay, you're buying the best product, and it's going to be serviced and installed in the best possible way. So don't let the price scare you away. From the get-go. Look for the value associated with it. And again, like I said, everything is in play right now as a state program, okay, until July 1, or until each utility rolls their program out.
Okay, thank you so much, Hap. And I think you might be interested in this, although you talked about having your own passive house. But tomorrow we have a couple from Middletown who are describing the passive house that they are in the process of building. And right now they're going to talk about the engineering, their journey to zero carbon footprint, and how easy it is to build a zero energy house. And they're going to invite people over something like once a week, once the construction starts in about after the first of the year, probably. It's in the queue. And they're going to have walkthroughs and show people what this house actually is and all the features of it. So I have put the registration link in the chat, and I really hope to see a lot of people there because I think it's going to be an excellent talk. And this is tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Okay, and we have two more. Steve's and my talk is on Thursday at 1 o'clock. It's Your Path to Clean Energy and Green Life, and we'll have some more examples of what we have done and can do. And Friday, it's not till 7 o'clock, but Dennis Anderson is going to talk about dirt, sun, and 0 to 60 miles per hour in his Tesla in 3 seconds, in his 2 Teslas, actually. And there's also a second speaker on that one who is Ariane Benray from the New Jersey BPU, who's going to talk about benefits and incentives for solar and community solar in New Jersey. So we think this is a really exciting series that we've put together and hope that you can show up for the next 3 talks. So thank you, Hap, and thank Phyllis in absentia. And thank everyone in the audience for tuning in and for such thoughtful questions. We really appreciate your attention.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay. And I guess we'll say goodbye, and I'll turn us off.